Okay. Aaron, bad boy for not reminding me. Just playing the blame game. And so go back to full screen for Sam. Sorry about that, Sam.
It's okay.
And then there you go.
Brilliant.
As you were.
No problem. Can everyone see that? The presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, perfect. So like I said, they're the sorts of things that we're going to cover today. And if you have any questions at all, I can't see the chat, so please do feel free to just shout out and let me know what you want to ask or what questions you have. Some of you might have quite specific questions as well. So I want to really, like I said, show you how employers, recruiters are using social media to be able to basically source candidates. And that's what we mean by social recruiting. It's sourcing candidates using social media. So if you can see here in the survey that was done of recruiters to ask which social media platforms they're active on and actively use to find candidates, 100% of them said they use LinkedIn, 75% of them said they use Facebook, 63% of them said they use Twitter, 53% said they use Instagram. So as you can see, actually, lots of employers are actively using social media to promote roles and also find candidates as well. And if you see as well in this survey about how important social media is to the overall recruiting strategy, 80% of them said it was either fairly important or essential to their recruitment strategy. So that just shows you how actively employers are using social media to enable them to find the right candidates for the jobs that they have available. And this is only going to be something that we predict will increase. And social media is a really useful way of them being able to find candidates, and I'll show you why as well. So we'll talk through the top sort of 3 social media tools that I use for recruitment. So the first one is obviously LinkedIn, and something we're going to talk about a lot today. And the reason why it's really useful for you as well to use LinkedIn is that it has lots and lots of benefits to be able to find the job of your choice. LinkedIn is a really amazing site, originally set up as a recruitment tool, but what it does is allows you to not only connect with people in the industry itself and build that network and those relationships, but it also is a great tool to find job opportunities as well and be successful in those applications as well. So like I said, setting up a LinkedIn account is great, but the real benefit of LinkedIn comes when you actively use it effectively. So the first thing that you can do is follow relevant companies. So think about the companies that you would like to work for in the future, the ones that you really admire, the ones that have the similar ethos to you, the ones that you admire their work, you admire what projects they get involved in, the work they produce. Follow those relevant companies. Not only will that provide you with, sometimes they tell you when job vacancies are available, but also it provides you with information about the industry. It helps you find out about projects that they're doing, things that they're up to. It's a really useful tool. It helps teach you a lot about the industry, about that company itself. And especially if you go on to apply for that company, using LinkedIn to be able to search companies and learn more about them and other forms of social media is really vital. So if you ever get invited to an interview or you're putting in an application, I would always recommend that you go and look on LinkedIn and other social media accounts to find those companies and find what they're doing. Their LinkedIn accounts, their social media accounts will tell you a lot about who they are, their values, work that they're currently undertaking, but it also will teach you a lot about the industry as well and what it'd be like to work for that company or in that industry itself. What you can do is look to people that you admire on LinkedIn. So people who are doing the job that you dream of doing in 5-10 years time, whatever it might be. LinkedIn is an amazing way to find out what people are doing and how they got to there as well. What jobs did they take? What courses did they do? What did they study? LinkedIn tells you a lot about people in the industry of your choice and how they got to be where they want to be. It's a really, really useful tool for that. It's really inspiring. You can have career conversations, so that's where we're talking about building up your network, talking to people in the industry. It's okay.
I'm just
Brilliant.
Quit that. And
No
sort
problem.
it out.
So having those career conversations with industry professionals that you're really interested in working with or you look up to, or people who do the jobs that you want to do, having those career conversations is a really useful thing to do. But we'll cover more about that later and how you can contact those people. You can search for job opportunities and save your searches on there as well. So like I said, LinkedIn is really amazing for also finding jobs as well. Many companies will advertise their jobs through LinkedIn, which is a really amazing thing for them to do. It's something that they can do very easily. It reaches a wide audience. Often advertising on social media is free. So it allows them, or cheap, it allows them to advertise really easily. So search for jobs and opportunities on LinkedIn as well. You can also set up job alerts on there as well. So you can say, I'm looking for a graduate job in graphic design, and save your searches on there as well. So if any jobs come up that are relevant to what you want to do, then you can save your searches on there as well. So I'd really, really recommend that you used it for that as well. But one thing LinkedIn's really good at is being able to supplement but also display your CV as well. So it will contain a lot of the information that you have on your CV, your education, your experience, but it allows you to supplement it as well. You can provide links to different media sources that you have. You can tell them a bit more about yourself and your personality. It's a lot more personable than a CV. You can put articles on there that you've written, things that you've shared, or things that you've read and commented on. So actually LinkedIn provides you with a lot more than just your CV, and that's something you can do on your CV as well, is provide a link to your LinkedIn profile. So if employers want to go and read more about you, LinkedIn gives you the option to be able to do that. And you can also contact alumni as well, start building your network with them, people who have maybe done your course in previous years, people in the industry who can give you that support in hand, but we'll come on to that in a little bit as well. There we go. So also I wanted to quickly talk about Facebook. So Facebook, again, a really good social media tool, but one that you might not have thought about using for job searches previously as well. So the jobs feature on Facebook enables you to search for jobs. So I didn't even know until quite recently that even existed. So Facebook now does have a jobs feature where you can search for job opportunities as well, and of course where you can apply. I know, amazing, isn't it? And where you can apply for jobs on there as well. So we do advise you, if you're going to use it for that purpose, to complete your work and education sections of your profile as well, and add any achievements to your life events timeline. But be really careful when using Facebook. Think about your current Facebook profile now. Does it have things on there that you don't want employers to see? Think about what that would portray to employers. So we'd say, think about your active use of social media, and that goes for any social media whatsoever. Think about what the content of your feed is. Are you sharing unprofessional things about your work experience, your part-time job, whatever it might be? Do you have things on there that you wouldn't want employers to see? Think about how you're using your Facebook. Do you want to use it professionally to look for jobs and search for things like that and promote your work, or do you want to keep it as a personal account? If you don't want to use it professionally, lock it down. That's really important to do.
Question then, Sam. Do you think it might be advisable if people are using Facebook for professional purposes that they actually set up a second account?
Absolutely,
like people do on Instagram?
They
have a personal Instagram, but then they have a professional Instagram.
Lots of people do. But remember, obviously, think about what you want to use it for, and that's the same with everything that I'm going to talk about today. Think about what you want the use of that to be. Do you want it to be for your personal social media use? Do you want to be able to use it professionally? What way is going to enable you to do that best is what I'd advise.
If you can't separate the two from each other, then have two separate ones.
Exactly. So think about exactly how you're going to use it. Are you going to turn your personal one into a more professional account? Are you going to keep them separate? What are you going to do with that? And that's definitely something to reflect on, and something that I'd really encourage you to consider, especially if you're actively promoting your work. if you're promoting your work on your Facebook page 1 minute and then you're talking about your night out on the same section of your profile on your Facebook page, think about what that's going to show employers. So you want it to be you want it to support your job search. You don't want it to then hinder your job search as well. So make sure that you think about all of those things. And the next one I'd really recommend is Twitter, something people don't often think about using for job searches, but actually lots and lots of people do use, lots of companies, lots of employers do use Twitter to actively advertise, promote jobs, connect with people, all of those sorts of things. So get inventive with your bio. Again, if you're going to do a professional Twitter account, get inventive with your bio, make it really eye-catching, a profile that someone will want to look at. You can link it to your LinkedIn profile as well. So if someone sees you on Twitter, they can then go on LinkedIn and read up more about you and your experiences and everything like that. You can use Twitter. One of the best things for Twitter is to stay up to date with current affairs, current trends, anything that's happening in the industry. And the best way to do that is by following people in the industry itself. So people you admire, people you look up to, people who regularly talk and share posts about things happening in the industry. That's a really, really useful thing to do. And we do it in higher education as well. I've used my Twitter account to search for hashtags, things to do with HE. And actually, there's lots of really useful articles on there. Lots of people who have a professional account or are using their personal account as a professional account to really showcase the work that they're doing, the research that they're doing, things that they're producing. And it is an amazing way of being able to share all of these things with people as well. Again, another useful way of it is to get to know your employers. So using it to follow companies that you're interested in working with or professionals at that company, and to see what they're on their professional accounts, what they're posting about projects that they're doing, things that they're involved with, what it's like to work for that company, all of those types of things as well. Again, if you have a professional Twitter account, which is very on brand with what you want your personal professional brand to be, you can put that Twitter handle on your CV as well. Again, it's just another way of showcasing all the things that you've got involved in. If you're writing posts about things that you're doing and sharing work that you've done on there, again, another way for people to see what you're doing. But like I said, follow employers, professional bodies, industry experts, anything like that on social media on Twitter is really good as well. And another obviously really useful one as well is Instagram. Great within the creative industry. You can showcase your work really easily. You can enable people to see what you're doing. And that's a really, really great way in the creative industry to be able to promote what you're doing and showcase how talented you are in terms of your portfolio. So what I'd really recommend is now think about how you're using social media. Are you using it personally? Do you want to use it professionally? And like we said, how do you separate them two together? Are you going to turn your personal one into your professional one? Are you going to keep them completely separate? So now is really the time to start thinking about how you're actively going to use social media to enable you to support your job search and support you professionally moving forward, because it's a great tool to use if you use it effectively. And like I said, what I really want to just think about is your digital footprint. If I search your names on Google, social media, what am I finding about you? That's really important to consider. Me personally, all my social media is locked down, and that's not because I post anything bad, but it's because I want to remain professional, and anything that's personal is kept separate from my private life. It's completely separate from my professional life. And I think that's really important to consider, is how you safeguard your social media. So like we've said, decide which social media is for work and play. Are you going to have 2 accounts? Are you going to use some personally, some professionally? How are you going to be able to separate the 2 of them? Lock down your private social media. So like I said, think about what image you want to portray to employers, clients, people you're working with. Does your current social media say that about you? If not, lock it down. Like we said, consider new accounts for job hunting, sharing portfolios of your work, connecting with employers and industry experts and professionals. Consider those new accounts as well. Check the usernames and bios of those you want employees to see. So if you do set up a professional account, does your bio and your username showcase that it is a professional account and this is what you're trying to achieve with that as well? And once you've done all that, once you've focused on that, do a quick audit, search your name in an incognito window, Google yourself, think about what is coming up. If you were an employer, is that what you would want to see about yourself in a professional environment? So make sure you consider all of those things. And once you have a collection of professional social media, you can link them all together. So you can link your LinkedIn to your Twitter, to your Twitter to your LinkedIn, to your Instagram, vice versa, and have that basically what you're calling like your personal brand, what you want to showcase about yourself professionally. You can use the same picture on all your social media. That's a good way of tying them in together. So the same headshot. So really think about sort of what your social media is really saying about you. I think that's a really important thing to consider. So yeah, hopefully that helps when talking about social media and how to use it. Like I said, if you've got any questions about that, happy to take them at any time, but we'll move on to talk more about LinkedIn now. So for those of you who don't have LinkedIn, obviously I'd absolutely recommend getting it as soon as possible and making sure, like I said, not only it is a really complete full setup of LinkedIn, you've filled in all the sections, you put as much information down as yourself, you're using it to the best of the ability, but you're also active on there as well. You're actively making connections, you're actively sharing articles, commenting on posts, writing articles yourself, sharing your project work, sharing your dissertation and your final year project, whatever it is that you're doing at the moment, sharing all of that and making sure you're building up that profile is something I'd really recommend to do. Another great thing about LinkedIn that some of you may not even know exists is LinkedIn actually have a learning platform on there as well. So they share loads of really great useful videos and resources about lots of different things. So building up skills, different parts of industries, but also they do an amazing video on setting LinkedIn up for students. So students setting up a LinkedIn profile. So it talks you through the individual sections, the types of things that you should be putting on there. Yeah.
Interesting point here.
Yeah.
That it used to be lynda.com.
Yes, it did. Yes.
And LinkedIn, yeah. I think probably bought it. Yeah. Lynda.com.
Yeah.
So it's the same lynda.com content.
Yeah.
But yes, as Sam says, now accessible via LinkedIn. Yeah. Which is quite cheeky, really, because you've got to have a LinkedIn account to be able to access it.
You can actually access it with your student email address.
That's also something else that everyone needs to know, that the university have actually paid for a license, a very expensive license, giving you, as a student of Staffordshire University, free access to all that learning material, which otherwise you would have to register and pay
Absolutely, yeah. And it's an amazing resource. They've got loads of stuff on there. I use it lots for just thinking about skills and develop your own personal development. And I think it's a really useful platform. So if you haven't used that already, then I would really, really recommend that you do that. But like I said, they have a really great video, which is on the link here. We'll share the presentation so you can get access to it. Or if you just go on LinkedIn Learning, you can just search for it. But they do a really great presentation on how to set up a new LinkedIn account and the types of things you should be putting in there. So that's a good way to sort of systematically go through it if you are setting one up. Really recommend that video. Also as well, I'll go on to talk about it in a little bit, but in LinkedIn you can actually list the skills that you have. And you can actually use LinkedIn Learning to be able to endorse those skills as well. So you can get sort of certification for it, I believe. So that's something else that I learned the other day that might be something worth looking at as well. But yes, so the first thing to start off with is your profile picture on LinkedIn. That is a really important thing to do. Quite often people don't want to put their profile picture on LinkedIn. They don't want to see themselves. It wants to be anonymized. But actually, if you put a profile picture on LinkedIn, you're 21 times more likely to be viewed on LinkedIn, because it shows your credibility. It shows that it sort of brings a person to that account. So I would definitely recommend building your profile picture and putting a profile picture on your LinkedIn as well. If you have a great headshot, and I know loads of the students in graphics and illustration do, because they saw them all last year, have amazing headshots, and we would recommend definitely keeping the consistency on your social media. So that's how you can build that professional personal brand as well. Have the same profile picture picture on your Twitter, on your Instagram, and it shows that professional brand of your social media as well. Yeah.
For those who are horrified at the prospect of having a profile picture, which, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
shame on you, because we're living in an age where people need to put a face to a name.
Yeah.
But for those that do have issues with that,
Yeah.
then as a graphic designer or a creative,
Yeah.
then at least have some graphic icon representation of yourself.
Absolutely,
Would you say?
yeah, and then make it consistent
But
throughout.
don't opt for the default
Of nothing.
No, because it will make you look like, as Sam said, uncredible, uncredible. But also, you know, people might even think you're a scam or a robot. You know, it's like little clues like that. Someone who doesn't have a profile picture, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole personally.
Yeah, and it's the same with like online learning. Now, I was saying before, when I've been doing online learning in a past year, I don't see anyone's face, so I don't really have a face to that name. I don't build up that relationship with those people, so so it's really good. It's so, like I said, when I see people in person, I tend to build a stronger relationship with them because I can see their face, I know what they look like, I can talk to them, and the profile picture goes some way of doing that. It adds that credibility, starts to build that relationship up stronger. So we do recommend that if you are going to, obviously, that you put a photo on there, but we recommend that especially for LinkedIn, what we would want you should do is to make sure that you have a professional photograph. So we don't want you on a night out or you with your group of mates. We want just you and a professional photograph. So your face, we recommend, should usually occupy 60% of the image, so we don't want you to be stood a mile away. We want it to be up to date, how you look at the moment, how you look in a professional environment. So something very up to date. I've seen somewhere, I know it's definitely not people's real current photo. Sorry, go on.
Can I make a suggestion, everyone, that you start with your MS Teams profile pictures? Because I'm staring at a load of initials representing each and every one of you, and there's no reason for that.
No.
We've been using MS Teams for 2 years now. Actually,
lots of your students did that last year. They put their profile picture as their Teams, right. And it actually helped me because I felt like I knew those people better.
Well, especially when you end up meeting them in person.
And then I put that face to the name, and absolutely. And even academics that have a one-on our platform where I can see their photograph before, could be talking to them for 2 years and not know what they look like. But then when I see them in person, it helps them put that face and name, build up a relationship. So that's definitely something I would recommend.
I didn't mean to interrupt Sam's.
No.
Sorry, thanks for that, Sam. But I'm going to lay down the challenge, one of the many challenges of today, and that is, before the day is done, I would like to see everyone with a profile picture the next time I log on to MS Teams.
There you go.
Okay.
So we want you to smile, be personable. It's not a passport photo. So be smile, be personable, show your personality through it. A plain background, so nothing too distracting or something quite plain or something not too that takes over the picture too much. And with some natural light as well is quite nice to see as well. But like we say, be consistent. Use the same photo for all your professional and social networking profile pictures. Again, it helps to set up that brand. So when they see you on Twitter and they've seen you on LinkedIn, they can put 2 and 2 together and know it's that same person. Like I said, if you are struggling, if you can't take a photo, get someone to do it for you. It doesn't have to be something professionally done. It can just be a family or friend, and we would recommend dressing professionally as well, just because it gives obviously that professional feel to your account as well. So one of the main things to do actually before setting up a LinkedIn profile is thinking about what you want that LinkedIn profile to achieve. What are you hoping to get from it? And that's really important to think about, like how everything I spoke about a couple of weeks ago is, what do you want to do? Where are you going? What are you thinking about achieving in the future? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be a freelancer? Do you want to be a graphic designer? What kind of industry do you want to work in? What do you want your specialisms to be? That's really important to consider. And I actually think it's something worth doing before you set up your LinkedIn profile. Quite often people set up the LinkedIn profile and without knowing what they want to do and what they want from it and what kind of direction they're going in the future, then actually it's really hard to write about. So I would really recommend, like I say, having a plan, thinking about what you want to do. So what we were talking about the other week, looking at vacancies, see what job opportunities are available. And like I said before, think about the roles that you want to enter. What are they looking at from you? You want that information to be on your LinkedIn profile. So when they read it, they think, this person is ideal for this job. They have really good skills that are relevant to the job. They have really good experience. They know about the industry. They're sharing articles relevant to the industry itself. And that might be something to consider, is using those really effectively as well. Like I said the other week, Prospects is a really good website. So have a look about types of industries you want to enter. Think about having more than one plan, things that you want to do, and think more broadly about careers. And when you've got a really good idea about what it is that you want to do, you can then really start making use of your profile as well. What I wanted to add as well is, if you can see on here, this person has a professional photograph on their sort of profile, but they also have what they call a background photo, which is kind of what you can see at the top. So it's a really good way of being able to, quite often people, especially obviously your graphic design students, you could create sort of an infographic type thing and have a look at other people's LinkedIn profiles as well for inspiration. Have a look at other graphic designers and see what they've put on their sort of profile, background photo as well, and use that effectively. Use that to help showcase yourself more, stand out. I've seen people put pictures of themselves on it with some information about their different profiles and their social media accounts, or put an image of some of the work that they've done or whatever it might be. So really make use of that as well. It's a great additional tool on there as well. So as you go sort of through your profile, you'll see lots of different sections, and I'm just going to talk about some of the key sections that you'll find on your profile on LinkedIn and how to make the most of them as well. So the first one I really wanted to talk about is your headline. So your headline is basically this like little bit under your name, which basically just says in a really short way who you are. Now, if you put your job role or what you do at whatever company, it automatically populates with that. But actually, you can customize that yourself. So you have 120 characters to use for that headline. So you can customize it yourself. So you could just write, be a graphic design student at Staffs Uni, but then you could add something to it as well. You could add what your interests are. So what is your specific interest? What is it exactly that you're interested in? What part of graphic design, illustration, whatever it is that you're doing is your special interest. Or you could also put in what you want from the profile itself. So you're seeking a graduate job, you're seeking some work experience. So within 2 lines, 30 seconds of reading your profile, already the person on LinkedIn knows what you're doing, maybe what your specialism is, and what you're interested in doing as well. So don't just leave that auto-populated. Do make sure you customize that as well. Another thing that you can actually customize on LinkedIn as well is your URL. So again, when you set up an account, just like any social media account normally, it also creates you a URL, which kind of is quite a long list of codes and numbers and whatever. Again, you could customize that to like your name and designer or whatever you want to customize it to. And then when you show it on business cards or on your profiles, it looks really professional rather than just a series of letters and numbers or whatever it might be. So I would really recommend that you customize your URL as well. That's another great way. It's all about standing out and trying to make the most of it as you possibly can. But I think customizing your URL looks really professional when you're putting things on business cards or your other profiles or whatever it might be. So that might just be something else that you want to do as well. And next thing I'm going to quickly come to is your summary. So this is your about section of LinkedIn. This is probably the biggest main section of the profile itself. And what you really want your summary to do is to tell a story about you. Tell a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, what you're interested in, what your aims are, what you want to do in the future, what you stand for, what excites you, everything about you. And this is this additional thing that I'm saying that sort of complements your CV, but then goes over and above. It allows you to add a bit of personality into it itself. So I'd really, really recommend that you do this. So it's all about asking these questions. So thinking, showing what you're passionate about, talk about what your goals are, use phrases that show you have sector knowledge, include keywords as well that are related to the industry. recruiters can look on search by keywords. So if you're using technologies that you're using, keywords to your industry, even sort of what you're looking for, that can all pop up. So think about, if you were an employer, what kind of keywords would you want to put there as well? And then ends with a call of action as well. But what I want you to do is, those of you who have a profile already and have this about section, or for those of you who haven't started it at all, I want you to just spend 5 minutes so thinking about these key questions. So start jotting some notes about all of these different things. And these might have been things that you might not have actually thought of before. Why did you come to university? What did you want to get from university? Why did you choose graphic design or illustration? What is it about that subject area that you're really interested about? What do you love about your subject the most? Is it some topics that you've done? Is it techniques that you use, processes, bits about the industry? What is it that you actually really enjoy? Do you have a career and a job in mind? Like I said, research vacancies and make sure you demonstrate you have the skills, knowledge and experience required for that role. And if you do, tell us about it. Tell us about all the experiences that you have and the knowledge that you have using this section as well. Think about, what do you do outside of your studies as well? This is the personality aspect. Tell us a little bit about, do you have a part-time job? Do you look after your family? Do you play sports? What is it that you do in your spare time that you really enjoy, Dav? What are your proudest achievements? Have you got work experience or shadowing? Have you entered a competition? Have you overcome a barrier? Have you gone travelling? Was getting to university a challenge? Do you volunteer? What's your ultimate aim career-wise? What is it that you want to do in the future? What industry do you want to be a part of? What is it that you want to be working within? What do you stand for? That's often something people really, really miss out. What is it that you stand for? What are your morals? That might be something that you want to add in there as well. What energizes you? What really excites you? So what part of the industry is it that really excites you? That might be worth something to think about. What are you good at? So again, like I said the other week, a lot of people don't know what their strengths are. They don't know what their key skills are. Think about what you're good at. Is it certain techniques? Is it certain aspects of design? Is it transferable skills? What is it that you're really, really good at? And think about what experiences that you've had. So placements, work experience, shadowing, live briefs, joining clubs and societies, attending professional events. Think about all of the things that you've done. So this is a really good chance to reflect and a really good starting point to write in your about section. Without doing all of these and thinking about these questions, people just tend to go in and just write waffle, and it tends to really not say much about themselves. So what I want you to do is, I'm just going to give you 5 minutes now, and I just want you to jot down some of the ideas to these questions, because now's a really good time to do it. Start coming up with some answers to these questions, and that will hopefully be a really good starting point for your summary about section of your LinkedIn profile. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. I'm going to turn my camera and microphone off, and I'll be with you in a few minutes' time. Hi everyone, welcome back. We'll carry on with the rest of the session now. Hopefully that's given you 5 or 10 minutes just to really think about sort of the things that you can include in that about section to really make you think exactly what it is that you want to convey to employers about you, about your interests, your specialisms, your skills, your experiences, everything about you and your personality and what you want to get across. Read through your summary once you've completed it and think, really, have I introduced myself? Have I talked about what I do and why I do it? So why I'm interested in it, what I want to do in the future and why, rather than this is who I am and this is what I want to do. Describe any experiences, specialist knowledge and skills you have related to your career aims. So it allows you to go into more detail about them. Talk about what you want. So do you want a graduate job? What kind of industry do you want that in? Do you want to get some experience? Are you interested in connecting with people for work shadowing, whatever it might be? So talk about what you want from your future on that profile itself. You could mention something personal to help the reader get to know you. So like I said, your personal interests, your hobbies, that can often be really useful when building that professional relationship as well. And mention how someone can get in touch with you. So is that via email, your social media accounts? How do people get in touch with you if they want to? Encourage people to connect with you on LinkedIn if you want to do that as well. So that's really what your summary about section should say. So this is just a really brief outline. If you are really struggling to sort of know what to put in this section, this is a really good template. So you can just say what you're currently studying, what you're interested in, why you became interested in it, tell us a story about that, what you've developed, what skills you have, as well as what experience you have as well. Develop what skills you, again, what other things you do. So your part-time job, your work experience, what has that given you as well? What you do outside your studies. And then also, while completing your degree, are you hoping to secure experience with a graduate role? What kind of industry do you want to work with? And then that call to action, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me an email. But what I'd really advise is if you are struggling with this about section of LinkedIn, what I always think of is going to look at other people's for inspiration, read through some of them and think, wow, what really stands out to me about them? What makes me think, oh, they're really interesting, they've got lots of skills, they're very talented. What is it that they're telling me that really appeals to me? Do they have a really good opening line? It's always a really good thing to do, because you only see the tip usually of, sometimes you only see the top of your summary. Your about section, you need to click down to see more. So or even just reading that first line is really, really good, because what it enables you to do is really captivate the audience really, really quickly. So making sure that you're doing that, but really think about, like I say, other people's profiles, what really appeals to you about them. Why are they useful? What can they tell you about that person? And then try and emulate that using your own experiences, skills, interests in your own about section itself as well. And then just some hints and tips for this that I would really recommend. I would always advise for you to write in the first person. Some people don't choose to write in the first person in this section, and to me that always sounds less personal, less conversational. Obviously it's up to you, but that would always be my recommendation, would be to write in the first person. It sounds a lot more personable, sounds like the person on the page is speaking to you directly. Don't make it too long, 2 or 3 paragraphs, 2,000 words max, not very long at all. You don't want to bore the reader, but again, you want enough information in there that you're going to really captivate the audience and tell them about yourself in enough detail. Again, I've looked at other people's, look how long theirs are. Think about, if I was the reader reading this, what would my pros and cons be of this profile itself? And then obviously try and take that into your own. Think of it a bit like a cover letter. Think about matching your skills and experience to the career you want. So like we said before, this goes to what we were saying before, read job applications for the job that you're interested in undertaking. Are you talking about the skills and experience that they want, or are you talking about skills and experience that are completely irrelevant? So make sure that you are doing that, and by doing that, you will hopefully make it sound like your whole life has been planned towards your chosen career. So your education, your experiences, your part-time job, your interests are all related to your career, and all your life has been purposely planned to your chosen career. And that's a really good way of thinking about it. Read through it and think, does it sound like everything I've done has enabled me to be really great at my chosen career in the future? Because that's what employers will read it like as well. So try and match your skills and experience to the career you want. Check your grammar and spelling. Again, goes without saying, but if you're writing something really, really inspirational and then it's full of grammar and spelling areas, that's what the employers are going to think of you. So get people to read it if you need to. Check through it and make sure it reads really well as well. I've read some on there and I think that's not even a sentence. That doesn't even make sense. And that's what I'm taking away from that profile, rather than all the amazing things that they've done. So make sure that you do check all of that as well. Mention your relevant skills and experience that we've mentioned before. Make sure you think about where you've got them skills from, what experience you've had, and make sure you summarise them. Summarise your accomplishments in those work experience or work. So that might be making an amazing project. It might be taking part in a competition. It might be whatever your accomplishments are. Think about what you're really proud of from your degree, from your experiences, from everything that you've done, and put those in there as well. Like I said before, try and make that first sentence count, make people want to read on more. Tell us all about yourself in that sentence, make it really catchy, make it really something that intrigues readers to want to read on more. Avoid using these unnecessary adjectives that kind of have no backing to them. So I'm really motivated individual. What makes you motivated? What are you actually interested in? What makes you want to be a graphic designer? That's what they're interested in, not just using these overused adjectives with nothing behind them. So think about that as well. Use white space and bullet points. So you can use bullet points. I've seen people use numbers. I've seen people use really small paragraphs, but think about the white space. Think about the bullet points. Think about how you're going to organize your summary, so it just your about section, so it doesn't seem over-facing and the reader can skim through your profile and get everything that they want from it, rather than it being a chore for them to read it all as well. And then number 12 is just ask for what you want. Think about what you want from your future. Do you want to find a graduate job? Do you want to find some work experience? What is it that you want to do next? Make sure you mention all of those things as well. But that's it in terms of the about section. Like I said, I'd really recommend that you do spend some time working on that, do a few drafts of it, make sure that you read it over and over again to make sure that it is saying exactly what you want it to say and it reads really well. With any of this, when you've created your LinkedIn profile, if you want us to have a look at it, we're absolutely happy to do that. So if you just email careers@staffs.ac.uk, we can have a look at your LinkedIn profile and see if we'd advise any alterations. You're welcome to do that as well. So the next section is your experience section. Students often get to this section and think, I don't have any experience, I don't have any work experience. But chances are you probably do, that you don't even realise that you have. And your work experience, regardless of what it is, will probably provide you with skills and qualities that employers are really looking for. So think about your internships. Do you have any work experience? Have you done anything like that? If so, great, talk about them in there. Have you done any work shadowing? Have you followed an industry professional around? Have you spoke to them about their career? What is it that you've got from that? Do you have a part-time job? Your part-time job might be nothing to do with graphic design or illustration whatsoever. It might be nothing to do with the industry, but actually your part-time job might give you skills that actually employers are really looking for. You might read through a job description of a graphic designer and it says they want someone who's organized, thinks on their feet, someone who's able to solve problems really quickly, really good communicator, really good team worker. They're often skills that you get from part-time jobs. So if you work in a restaurant, I worked as a restaurant when I was young, before I went to university, and I learnt teamwork skills because I worked in a team. I communicated with customers in the restaurant and staff. And actually, I came away from that thinking I've gained nothing from that 2 years at that restaurant.
Plus, you learned how to eat with a knife and fork.
Exactly, yeah. It was a nice restaurant. Met a few slobs there. Yeah, so it was actually really, really useful experience, but I didn't actually realise how useful it was until afterwards. And then I thought, right, okay, when I went to an interview, they asked me about communication. I thought, when have I used communication? Oh yeah, in a restaurant every day. So quite often you think your part-time jobs aren't relevant, but actually they really do impress employers, because it shows. I was speaking to someone yesterday who was speaking for our Connected Futures event, and they were a film producer, and she was saying when she looks at people to work for her, yes, she looks at their portfolio and what they can do and things like that. But with graduates, what she looks for is just, do they have a part-time job? Right, okay, they've held a job down for 2 years. That obviously means they're reliable, they turn up on time, they're professional, they're good at communicating, all of those things that I've just mentioned. So straight away, she said like she would prefer someone to have had a part-time job. So all of those things that you may not think are relevant might actually be really useful to employers. So don't forget any of that as well. Think about if you've done any summer work or any additional courses or anything like that, you can list them. That's really important to think about as well. Have you done anything else? Any small projects? Have you done any freelancing work? Have you attended any specialist event? Took part in any competitions that you might have done as part of your course itself? Live brief?
University ambassador?
Yeah, ambassador. I was student ambassador at uni, and to be honest, that's why I'm still in higher education now, because I realised that was what I wanted to do and work in HE, but I also learnt lots of skills from that as well, which were great. So if you've done anything like that, that can go in your experience section as well. So
as cover on open days?
Yeah, open days, yeah, anything like that. Obviously, that's communication, things like that. So things that you might never have thought of, any live briefs you've done as part part of your university where you've worked with employers, anything like that that you've done, anything that relates to your field can go in this experience section. Talk about it, because actually you probably find it's far more relevant than you actually ever. So yeah, that's a really good thing to do as well. Volunteering is another great one to put on there. There is a separate section for volunteering though, so you can always put that in the volunteering section as well. So if any of you volunteer to do sort of took part in any volunteering opportunities, that's something to put in there as well. Your education, now this is the same with the CV. This is something people often really struggle with, is they obviously know what qualifications they've done, but they just simply list their qualifications. Tell us a little bit more about your education. There's hundreds of universities across the UK that most of them will run a graphic design degree or something similar to that. What have you done in your degree that sets you apart from all them other people? So think about what you've done. So obviously list your qualifications, your degree, what you've done pre-university. Was that A-levels, BTEC? Was it GCSEs? You can list all of those types, a bit like a CV on LinkedIn. But you can also put a description of your course on there as well. What has your course taught you? What have you specialised in? What opportunities have you been able to get involved with? And exactly the same for a CV. Pick out some relevant modules. Think about your 3 years on your degree. What modules have been the most relevant to what you want to do in the future? That might be a module you did in level 4. It might be something you're doing now. It might be your final year project. What is it that has been the most relevant? And tell us about it. Tell us about what you've done in that module, what you've got from that course, what you got from the assessment, what skills you developed in that module. Talk about all of those things. So rather than just saying, I've got a BA in graphic design, you can tell us what you actually did in your course. Don't assume that the employer, even if they are in the industry themselves, knows exactly what was on your course, because they absolutely won't. So talk about anything like that as well. Talk about what equipment you've used, processes you've used, technology that you've used, things that you're specialised in. That's really something to think about as well. Also, what activities you've got involved in, societies you've been involved in, the wider side of education as well is something you might want to look at. But have you won an award? Have you got a scholarship? Have you presented at a conference? What projects have you taken part in? What positions of responsibility have you had in your course? So really, again, think in more detail about your course itself. What have you got from that course? What has it taught you?
Yeah, I can add to that.
Yeah.
Listing one's skills. There's a tendency, like with us graphic designers, to draw a blank there and just write fully familiar with the entire Creative Adobe suite.
Yeah.
Stop. But actually, it's more than, yes, of course, list which applications in particular. But when it comes to skills, as Sam says, it's like relate more to the skills that you acquired during each and every module. Otherwise, you'll forget to mention art direction, project researcher, team liaison, client-facing experience. You've actually done all these things, but you will forget to list them. And so this is a reminder that there are so many soft skills that you acquired during each and every module from get-go in the first year to now that you could list. So you can turn a skill set of just one, which is the Creative Adobe suite, to about 20 skill sets, if you think about it. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. And that leads me really well on to the skills section. So you knew that was coming next, didn't you? So the skills section. So LinkedIn allows you to add up to 50 skills on your LinkedIn profile that you have. So again, employers can use these to search for you, to think about what skills you have. You can list up to 50, but I would sometimes recommend making it a smaller amount and really concentrating on those key skills that you absolutely have that are really vital for your industry. But like I said, think about what we were saying before about reading job applications. Go through job applications and think, right, what skills are employers looking for? Technical skills, transferable skills. And then if you have them, list them on your LinkedIn profile. And then when they're looking for someone with a certain technical skill, or they're looking for someone with a certain transferable skill, they can find you easily on there as well. So absolutely add skills in there that relate to your career aims as well. But be prepared to give evidence on them as well. I would recommend, before you add a skill into LinkedIn, always think, if I asked you for an example of when you've been able to demonstrate that skill, would you be able to give it to me? because that's what employers will do at interview. They will say, can you give me a time when you've been able to demonstrate communication skills? If you can't, but you've listed it on your LinkedIn profile, you need to be transparent and make sure you don't lie or exaggerate. So make sure they are absolutely skills that you can back up with evidence. So that's definitely something to really think about in there as well. Also, what you can do is that you can get your skills endorsed. So your academics, your friends, previous employers can endorse those skills and say, yes, I absolutely know that this person definitely has really good communication skills or technical skills, whatever it might be. So what you can do is, get people to endorse them. And then again, it seems more creditable to employers. They know if somebody's already endorsed it, then probably that person absolutely definitely has that skill. So that's definitely something I would recommend that you do, is add skills into that section wherever you can. Think about what skills you would be really good for your career aims, and then add them into that section. Like I say, you can add lots of skills in there, so I'd recommend to do that. And then if you're really stuck for what skills, you've looked through job descriptions or you're not really sure about what you want to do, research has done these recently, have been one of the lists where they produced the top 10 skills that employers want. So if you're really unsure about what you want to do or thinking about what skills to put in, these might be ones that you might want to add in. So when employers were surveyed, they said these were the top 10 things that they really wanted graduates to have. So the first was commercial awareness, then communication, teamwork, negotiation and persuasion, problem-solving skills, leadership skills, organisation, perseverance and motivation, ability to work under pressure, and confidence. So they are the 10 top skills that employers want. So like I said, think about times when you've been able to demonstrate these. Like I said, a lot of them you'll be able to get from your experiences or things that you've done at university. But again, if you think you can evidence these, they may be some good skills to add to your LinkedIn profile. And then how to use LinkedIn. So once you have an amazing profile set up, I would really recommend you work hard to complete your profile setup. So you've added skills, you've added all your experiences, you've added your really good about section, you've got a great profile picture and headline picture. Background picture, you've got a really nice headline that says what it needs to say. Then you can start networking using LinkedIn. And the reason why we say having a complete profile is so important, having a complete profile will get you seen by employers. Only 51% of users on LinkedIn actually have a complete profile. By having a complete profile, you're already heads and shoulders above those people. So it's really important that you do that. It allows you to get seen more, it gets you more views, but also it gets people engaging with you more and adds credibility as well. So if you're struggling to create an engaging profile or struggling to think about what to put on your profile or struggling to see whether it's the right thing to do, work with one of our career coaches to get an engaging profile. So come and see us in the career studio and make sure that you do that as best as you possibly can. Then connect with people and start interacting with people and having these career conversations, which I'll talk about in a minute. LinkedIn is an amazing way to meet people who you would never probably meet before. People in industry have really good skills and experience that they can pass on to you and knowledge about the industry, and also start to interact and build up your network. So LinkedIn is a great way to do that. But like I said before, you need to be active on LinkedIn as much as you possibly can. Post some engaging content, comment on articles, like articles, share articles. And then when you're ready, create articles of your own. Tell us about what you're doing, what you're interested in, what your opinions are, what you've read. All those things will get you seen on LinkedIn. Also, what you want to do as well is if you're posting things on LinkedIn, give a description about them, tell us exactly what you're doing. Think about if you didn't know yourself, read back at your profiles and see whether that's something that you would get a lot from, whether you know a lot about that person from that. Join groups, that's an amazing thing to do. So you can join groups related to the industry of your choice. Lots of random groups on LinkedIn, but absolutely search for the groups that you're interested in, and we'll teach you a lot about your industry itself, and join those groups. Then what you can do is join conversations in those groups, discussions about the industry. It'll teach you about the industry sector, but it will also get you seen by lots of the industry specialists as well. And like I said before, set up job alerts. Use LinkedIn as another job searching tool. Some employers will only advertise on LinkedIn. If you're not searching for jobs on LinkedIn, you've not got job alerts on there, then you're really missing out on a really good sort of selection of jobs that might be really available to you as well. One thing you can also do is request recommendations. So from people that you've worked with, people that you've engaged with previously, which can just basically give you a bit like a TripAdvisor review about yourself, where they tell us exactly what they think of you and why you've been so good to work with and all of those sorts of things. So definitely request recommendations where you can as well, because I think they always read really well on a LinkedIn profile, and again, add credibility. If I see that on someone's LinkedIn profile, I'm thinking, wow, someone's taken their time to write about that person and really acknowledge how good they are at whatever it is that they do. So really recommend them as much as you can as well. And like I said, really utilize the platform. Make sure you think about exactly what it is that you want your profile to do, and then use it for that purpose. Engage with it on a regular basis, and make sure that you're networking with others through the LinkedIn profile itself. And then LinkedIn is a really general introduction to networking, really, and you can start having those career conversations with professionals as well. If you do want to engage with someone on LinkedIn that you want some advice from, rather than just clicking loads of people and start accepting loads of people, requesting to connect with loads of people, not only will that potentially get you blocked, I have heard of that before, but also what it does is often people won't accept people who just send sort of requests to connect without anything in it. Introduce yourself and tell them why you would like to connect with that person. So say hi, a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you're interested in becoming, and just say, I wondered if I could ask you some questions about your career, and really use LinkedIn to have those career conversations where you're speaking to individuals and you want to know more about them, their career, their role in the industry, and kind of interview them and use LinkedIn for that basis. Quite often, if professionals receive that kind of message, they will accept it and they will talk to people and they will have those career conversations with them. But you need to make the effort. You need to make sure that you're having that to and from conversation with them, and you're making a really good starting point with that first message. Why do we use LinkedIn for networking and other networking methods as well? Networking is a really important thing to do. So what you'll find is that 85% statistically of jobs are filled via networking, and 70% of jobs are never advertised. It's all about building up your professional network, showing people what you can do. So when they think of roles, they think absolutely want that person in that job. I've spoke to them a few times. I know what they can do. I know what their specialisms are. I want that person to work for me. Like I say, it's part of a lot of jobs as well, networking. So that's often a skill that they really want to have as well. So if you've shown good networking, that means you could probably network with people in the industry in your job role really well as well. So lots of people like it for that reason as well. So networking is a really important thing to do, and LinkedIn is a really good stepping stone to that as well. And the reason why we really recommend having that professional network from now far into your career, and you will find your professional network builds up as you get into your career, is that access to vacancies, that hidden job market itself. Also, that support with your career, so support with your next steps, whatever it might be. I've had people who I've worked with for years and years and worked with in different industries and moved on to the next job. But I know if I keep that professional network with them, I can still ask for them for career support and advice and mentoring. And if they've done a project that you're really interested in, speak to them and ask for their advice. And that's what professional network's all about. It's about gaining useful information and knowledge from people as well. Also, when you're in industry as well, people often think companies don't want to speak to each other. And sometimes, yeah, okay, you can't share things and disclose your information and those sorts of things. But often I've worked at companies, universities, where I've said, right, I'm going to ask another university if they felt like they've had that same problem, or they've encountered the same issue, or they have any advice on how we might be able to go about this, or those sorts of things are really important as well. Sometimes that can't happen, but often, sometimes companies to company relations is actually a really useful thing to do as well. There's the opportunity for speculative applications as well, and also just that mutual support network. Knowing people in the industry, knowing that they've gone through the same sort of things, especially if you want to go into freelancing. I think a professional network is absolutely important for that. Being with people who are going through similar things, they have their own business as well, they're facing the challenges that you face. But definitely at your level, professional networks can give you that great access to mentoring. And like I said before, hopefully you all went away last time and applied for the professional mentoring program. I'm hoping, but that is a great stepping stone to start to build that professional network, to start to get that information and knowledge from people as well. So I'm going to quickly, last thing I'm going to talk about today is an elevator pitch. So if you ever meet people at careers events or industry events or at the degree show, quite often we have employers come in and see people in the degree show itself, then it's a really, really good way of being able to show an elevator pitch is being able to tell someone who you are, what you do, what you're interested in, and what you want. And the idea why it's called an elevator pitch is that it's 30 to 60 seconds, or the time it'll take you both to get to where you're going in an elevator. So rather than saying hi when people come round, or when you're starting to network in person and having those awkward conversations or online networking event, an elevator pitch allows you to really tell someone about yourself and sell yourself pretty quickly as well. So it's really a frontline tool for decision making as well, and it's an essential part of your personal brand toolkit as well. Go on.
Okay, so so would you like to hear some examples of an elevator pitch? You don't have to venture very far. Most of the plaques from the degree show have exactly that, a 60-word maximum elevator pitch. I'll just read one of them for you. Stacey Yoxall, I am a graphic designer specializing in visual identity with a curiosity for user interface design. My work is all about problem solving, getting deep into the issue and what needs to be communicated in the best possible way. I always take an inclusive approach, using visual communication as a means of making a solution more accessible. That's an elevator pitch that you're referring to.
Absolutely.
And there are tons more. You just need to read the plaques in the studio.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great way, whether it's written down or whether it's something you say in person. Once you read them or hear them 3 or 4 lines, you know what that person is, you know what they stand for, you know what they're interested in, and you know a little bit more about that person. So it's a really useful thing to do. But practicing this elevator pitch will help you to confidently summarize who you are, your skills, your experience, and what you're looking for as well. And sometimes add your personal brand into it as well. What do you actually stand for? What is it that you're really interested about? All of those sorts of things. So it's really useful when you meet potential employers by chance, or at a career or networking event, when you're pitching a business idea potentially to clients, or when writing your GradX entry. So I spoke about GradX in the last one, but part of your final year degree show, final year work, or speaking at the degree show as well. So with GradX, both online and in person, we have employers coming round to view your work. What would you do if an employer came to you right now and said, right, tell me a little bit about yourself, and you've just got nothing to say? An elevator pitch enables you to do that as well. So it's designed to pique the reader's interest. They walk away and think, I want to know more about that person. I'm going to go away and look at their LinkedIn profile. I'm going to go away and look at their portfolio online, whatever it might be. So things to consider. You want to share what skills you have, what your talents are, what you're really interested in. Keep it short and sweet. Like I say, you don't want to be talking to them for 3 hours. It's 30 to 60 seconds. You can cater your elevator pitch to examples to the situation you're in. So it's not set in stone that you say this every time you meet someone. You'll probably change it slightly. For your degree show, you might talk about your work or whatever it is that you do. So it will change slightly as well. But you want it to be professional, you want to avoid slang, but also overly complicated terms as well. You want to be on the same sort of level as that individual. Be upbeat and enthusiastic. You want to be really passionate about yourself. Like I said, it's all about selling yourself. Mention your goals, your interests, add your own spin to it and spark their interest as well. So these are just really simple examples, but like I said, with elevator pitches, a little bit of prep work goes a long way. Just writing a couple of these sentences, reading them out to you, really help you understand what you are, what you stand for, what your skills are, what your experiences are, in a way that you can convey really easily to anyone you meet. So as I say, includes who you are, what you study, your specific career goal or your interest, how you've demonstrated your interest, so what have you done? So how do you demonstrate your interest? Is it projects that you've taken part in? Is it things that you've done outside of your studies? Is it some work that you've done? So some of these say a little bit about what their work is, but then shown actually what they've gone and done as part of that as well. So think about all of these sorts of things as well. Demonstrate your qualifications, work experience, achievements, skills and strengths. Obviously this caters for the audience, so if they know you're already a graphic design student, you don't have to tell them that again. So you cater this every time to whatever audience you're in, but it just starts to get you thinking. And then ask a question or request for assistance as part of that as well. So I'll run through it slightly as well. So like I say, try writing it all down, try answering all these questions and remove anything that's absolutely not critical or something that your audience isn't looking for. And then some people like to use templates for this, like a bit of step by step, but don't forget to add some flair so it doesn't sound too scripted either. So just simple questions that you might want to answer to help you start thinking about it. So what your name is, what you study, what you're interested in what specific field is it, what are your absolute interests, so rather than just graphic design or illustration, what absolute field is it that you're interested in? What have you been involved in? What have you done? Is that the final year project that you're doing? Is it some work experience that you've done? What have you actually been involved in to show your interest in that area as well? Like I say, discover what I really enjoy as well. And then could you tell me more about whatever it might be? So again, just some basics. This is just the answering of the questions. Then try and make it less scripted. And then finally, with a bit of flair. So this would read, hi, my name is Paul. I'm currently a student at Staffordshire University. I'm studying a degree in graphic design. If all goes well, I'll be graduating this summer with a 2-1. I recently read that your company has been voted the best affordable fashion brand 2020. And I've always been interested in graphic design, fashion and branding. And in fact, actually, I blog about it in my spare time. I've just finished a summer placement with Boohoo in their graphic design team. And they've asked me to return as a graduate, but I'm also curious to see if your company will consider a graphic design graduate. So that's a really good starting point. Yeah, exactly. A really good starting point to telling people who you are, what you're interested in, and also, like I say, what you want from them as well, what you want to ask about or inquire about. So if you met someone at a careers event, this could be something that you could tell them a little bit about yourself. Like I say, you might want to add something into that. You might want to add more about your personal brand. So what you stand for might be something that you add into that, what your sort of real interests are. Obviously, this is just very basic. You might have really specific interests, exactly what it is that you want to do and what you're interested in and what you're passionate about. You'll add this in. Obviously, this is just a basic example, but it just gives you a start to think, if you did meet someone at a networking event, whether it be online, in person, whatever it might be, how would you go about introducing yourself? I think that's really something that's important to do. And remember, practice it as much as you can. Practice speaking. I think last year, Rich, you got them to say these sorts of things in front of camera, didn't you?
Yeah, when they did a voiceover for a commercial, and it made them think about each and every word.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is as well, when you practice
inflection is important.
Inflection, showing you're passionate, you're enthusiastic. Part of that is tone of voice as well, not just what you're saying. Try and remember to speak slowly and practice saying these sorts of things before you go to the degree show, before you go to networking events. Practice saying a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you stand for, what you're interested in, what you've done, what you want in the future. Practice speaking about all of those things, because that's a really good start to networking, is making that really good first impression when you do meet someone. Leave someone, even if you only meet them for a few minutes, walking out the door thinking, right, I want to find out more about that person, and allow them to do that. Don't forget to follow them up. So offer out your business card, follow it up with a phone call, email, a LinkedIn request. That's another thing you can really do with LinkedIn, is if you meet someone at an event or an employer when you're doing live briefs, so whatever it might be, follow them up with a LinkedIn request and say it was really nice to meet you. I really hope we could connect and discuss more about the industry, or I wanted to ask you a few follow-up questions, or whatever it might be. So don't forget to follow up, and that's how you start to build your network. Make yourself memorable, make them want to know more about you. And then a month down the line, they may have a job opportunity and the first person they think of is you. So make sure you do that as much as you possibly can. Right, that's it for the session today. Hopefully I've taught you a lot about LinkedIn, social media, anything like that. Does anyone have any questions at all that they would like to ask? Feel free to shout them out.
I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, I can't see the chat. Have you got the chat?
We've got the chat.
Brilliant. Yeah, either. No one typing? No? No, perfect.
We've got a lot of thumbs up. Oh no, that's us.
It made me feel better slightly then for a second. So yeah, one thing to finally say is, like I said, if you are struggling networking, if you're struggling building up your LinkedIn profile, you don't know what to put in it, you want to make sure it's perfect before you go public with it and start networking with it, do come and see us at the Careers Studio. We can go through your LinkedIn profile bit by bit, make sure that everything that in there is really, really relevant and making sure that it's really useful. So please do that. If you are interested in doing that, please do connect with us. Please do come and see us, and hopefully we'll be able to point you in the right direction. Hopefully it's perfect first time, but if not, we'll be able to point you in the right direction of how you can improve it as well. But like I said, hopefully that has been quite useful. If anyone does have any questions, please do feel free to drop me an email, contact me, or speak to me in a couple of weeks' time when I do my next session. But yeah, get thinking about setting up a LinkedIn profile, making it the best as you possibly can. Use it actively and think about your social media as well.
Super.
Brilliant.
Great. Right,
I think that's it. There you go.
And thanks, Sam, so much for all that information. Quite a lot to unpack, but it's all relevant to. Let me just adjust the height of the camera. Can you see me? All right, let me just steal the screen back so that I can see me and see you all. Oh yeah, just pull it out. I'm sure. So thank you so much, Sam, once again. Where would we be without her? Because she talks all the issues that relate to each and every one of the tasks that you've been set for this module. Task number 2 being networking and social media channels. And so whilst we're on the subject today, and let's keep the pace going, and I want everyone by this time next week to have, if you haven't already, registered on the following websites, and that is The Dots, Behance, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So by this time next week, if I challenge you on the subject as do you have a profile on The Dots, and you say no, then you have failed the challenge set before you. But don't worry, there's no penalty applied. So that's for next week. Something else for next week is I want everyone to be thinking about and able to produce the first draft for their elevator pitch, or if you want, you can call it a short form creative statement, whatever you call it, it's the same thing. But also look at the long form creative statement. So try and sum up who you are, what you do, like the plaque I just read out to you, and I'll read a couple more if you want more examples of a short form elevator pitch. That's often even harder to try and sum yourself up in fewer words, so you've got to choose your words carefully. As Sam said, yeah, don't use too many superlatives like brilliant, amazing. Fabulous.
Some people say I'm really passionate about something, but don't tell me why they're passionate.
Yeah, yeah, and even the word passionate.
About graphic design, but then don't say why they're passionate.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're going to use the word passionate, at least explain what you're passionate about. Let me just give you a couple of short form examples just to keep you reassured that everyone's had to do this. This is from Cal Hunter. My approach to graphic design is a reflection of my core values: simplicity, boldness, honesty, compassion, and truthness of voice. And from that, I hope I am able to express a bit about my personality by spreading bold and colourful messages of advocacy, equality, joy, and charisma through my work. I mean, how profound. James Gibson. I'm James Gibson, a graphic design BA honours student. Typography is my lifeblood, and you shall see in every aspect of my work. You could say I'm just that type of guy. I love to apply type in new and inventive ways and create visually stunning work. I'm always ready to learn new things and dedicated to improving my design skills. Perfect. Jess Hawksworth. Visual communication should always be fun whilst playing around with various methods of execution en route to creating something special. Repetition is boring, so I tend to push the boundaries of graphic design through drawing, typography, photography, animation, and designer making in order to see where the media take me. Tom Challender. With the explosion of social media and the internet, it has become more important than ever to produce meaningful visual communication messages through the use of consumable media. I enjoy the process of taking the identity values of a company and blending them with good design values and helping to promote their success. And I read Stacey's to you earlier. And those are just some examples of, I guess, elevator pitches with a twist. But I want you to produce your first draft. Let's call it first draft so that you don't get too obsessed about it and and you procrastinate too much. Consider it a first draft. It won't be for public display. It will just be for me so that I can give you some feedback and recommendations or a little bit of a rewrite here and there. No more than 60 words first draft, and how you describe yourself may end up being the very plaque that you use for your degree show. Okay? So you might see it, like immortalized. But I also want you to consider task number 3, the creative statement, which is more of a long form. So that would be like 200 to 300 words. I've put in the MS Teams files examples of what I consider to be good creative statements. So you've got lots of examples to follow, which you can only do if you go to the effort of downloading them and reading them. So that's kind of really important that you do that for next week. But for this afternoon, I'm setting you 2 challenges. Well, 1 challenge, but the challenge involves answering 2 questions. What I've done is I've sent each and every one of you an email. And in that email, so check your email, because in that email are those questions. I'm just going to my files and I'm just going to dig them out right now. They're very simple questions. And actually, in answering these questions, will give you some material to make your creative statement unique. So it's a little bit of a timeout. Don't just go straight into writing it. Build some kind of reference like you would do for a project. Consider your creative statement just like any other project. You can't just go straight into it. You've got to give it some thought. So, well, this afternoon, you've got until 2 o'clock. No, you've got to have a lunch break. So I'll give you till 3 o'clock. Okay. Can't be that badass. So between now and 3 o'clock, if you're not here in present, then I want you all back online for this exercise. So 2 questions that you need to answer before 3 o'clock today is question 1. Who are the people that inspire you the most? If you were to host a dinner party consisting of 20 most influential or inspirational people in your life as a designer, or even as a person, dead or alive, who would you invite? You've got sufficient table setting, as I said, for 20 people. Who would those 20 people be? So which artists, designers, philosophers, humanitarians would you invite to your dinner party? Also consider who would be a good mix, who would you sit next to who? And it might sound like a fun exercise because it's meant to be, but it also has significant consequences to how you express yourself in a creative statement. That's question number 1. So answers to that question by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Question number 2 is, in a single word, how would you describe your relationship with graphic design? However, you have the opportunity, and indeed you're asked to come up with 20 words, 20 single words that describes or sums up your relationship with graphic design. This question is really getting you to think in simple terms, and this word that you use might end up being a word that you use in a creative statement. Let me just give you an example. If someone asked me that question, I'd mix it up a bit. I'd go colourful, complicated, engaged, married, dedicated, and then I'd probably mix it up with some of my approaches to design, contemporary, modernist. Probably wouldn't say traditional, but if I was, I would. So just single words that you're comfortable with. Remember, there are no wrong answers to this exercise. It's just your opportunity to list words. And if you think about it, the challenge, and it's 2 questions, is a very clever way of getting you to just start structuring your thoughts when it comes to eventually preparing or writing a creative statement, which is the challenge for next week. So Can't have it better than that, can you? So any questions on those challenges? Anyone? Let me just close those challenges so that I can see Emma's Teams.
All clear.
All clear. Is that Aaron?
No.
It's Tom. It's Tom. I can see your
Yes.
I can see your picture profile lighting up when you talk. Great. All right. So thank you again, once again, Sam, so much for that. Where would we be without you? What time do we have? We're at 11:45 now. So you've got this afternoon challenge. What we're going to do is come back to this MS Teams meeting. It will still remain live and accessible for the remainder of the day. But I would like everyone to come back online at 3 o'clock for a quick get together. We won't make it a long session, but it will be vital for us to maybe sample one or two outcomes from these questions that we've had today, just to put us all in the mood and so that we can relate and compare. So it's just gone 11:45. So I'm going to sign off this end, and you're all entitled to sign off. But before you do, Sam has been using my machine, so hold your horses, everyone. Don't anyone sign off just yet, because I'm going to do a register, which will do the job of making sure that the attendance list for today is up to date. In case any of you forget or can't do it yourself, I'll be doing it for you. But I can't do that unless I know the attendance list. But that's now downloading, and it's now downloaded. It's done. So I've got today's attendance.